And TGIF, everyone. Welcome into the First Call podcast alongside Scott Shapiro. I'm Jeremy Plonk. We're with First Bet and Express Bet to handicap some weekend stakes races for you. That's what we do here on the podcast each and every Friday. We've got racing from around the country for you this weekend to talk about. Of course, New York's got the big races this weekend. We'll get into the schedule in just a moment. Scott, opening day at Los Alamitos today on Friday on the West Coast, and some big carryovers at Turfway Park, more than $150,000 in the late pick five for Friday night's late pick five carryover at Turfway Park. So a pretty exciting Friday to kick off the weekend.
Yeah, tough sledding 2 days in at Turfway. It looked a little formful for Turfway, a place I'm very familiar with on opening day for Turfway. Still good payouts, of course. But yesterday I saw a couple of bombers coming in early, so that leads you to the late payout always there, or the late carryover, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's an interesting time of the year. We kind of segue the Thanksgiving weekend, kind of really draws the line. As you mentioned, Los Al getting started. We've got some qualifying tournaments on the on Express Bet to play to get into the $1,500 Santa Anita opening weekend challenge. So lots going on as we get more excited for the big Gulfstream Park and Santa Anita meets.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody watching on X and on YouTube. Be sure to like, share this out, help us grow the audience. Give us some comments in the comment section. Tell us who you like this weekend. For those of you on our traditional audio channels, here are the 8 races Scott and I are going to handicap over the next 20 minutes or so. We'll go Saturday, December 6th to Aqueduct, where it's a big day of racing in New York. The Demoiselle Stakes for 2-year-old fillies, the Elite Power for the sprinters, the 2-year-old colt, and maybe some Derby dreamers in the Remsen Stakes, and then the Cigar Mile, one of the tradition-rich races on the Nyra circuit, wraps things up from our handicapping standpoint. To Gulfstream, where the championship meet is starting to percolate now. It'll get bigger and better after we get past the first of the year. But a championship meet stakes this Saturday, the H. Allen Jerkins, 2 miles if you like your stamina. Let's go to Los Alamitos for the Starlet Stakes, 2-year-old fillies in really a traditionally rich race. The Hollywood Starlet for many decades. The Los Al Starlet certainly can produce a Kentucky Oaks type out of that one. To the Valedictory Stakes at Woodbine we go on Saturday. Want to remind you, Saturday at Woodbine and today at Woodbine, 10 times first rewards points when you bet Woodbine races with First Bet and Express Bet this Friday and Saturday. So the Valedictory Stakes, Scott will give you a little bit of help on that one. And at Turfway Park for the Boone County Stakes on Saturday night. We'll handicap that one for you. 1 million first rewards points hit and split on the line this Saturday at Aqueduct if you can take down the late pick 4. And my man on the other side of the screen, Scott's already got his plays ready for that late pick 4 Saturday. Scott, you got a blog up at expressbet.com and at news.first.com for the late pick 4 Saturday at Aqueduct, all stakes edition, right?
Yes, it is. You've got the 2 races we'll talk about as kind of the meat of the sandwich, if you will, the Remsen and then the Cigar Mile, and they're kind of surrounded by the a pair of New York Stallion Series races at 7 furlongs over the main track. You got one for the boys and one for the girls. So a very, very playable sequence. And obviously the place to play is where you'll get free rewards points when you hit, and you'll get your payout anyway.
All right, let's go to Aqueduct then, get busy with this Saturday card. 1 mile and an eighth in race number 3, the Demoiselle. Again, 2-year-old fillies in here, potential Kentucky Oaks prospects going to next year. Big week for the Oaks Trail as we have not only the Starlet at Los Al, but the Demoiselle in New York. 1 mile and an eighth is a 2-turn race at Aqueduct, so this really kind of changes the variables for a lot of the Nyra horses. Most of the races to this point for the 2-year-olds have been around 1 turn. You almost have to be coming from out of town to have a 2-turn race on your resume. The horse I know you like in here, Jumping the Gun, does have a 2-turn race and a mile race at Delaware Park. So configuration of the racetrack makes a big difference in some of these distances, Scott.
Without question, I like the foundation this Gunrunner filly that is shipping in from Delaware, like you mentioned, has. And, I went through this field. Normally, I would be a little bit tough to convince me on the Delaware Park shipper into New York. But, the big favorite in here on the morning line, number 3, Zany. I'm not saying she's not going to run. It's a very interesting entry, though. She's been training down in Florida for a barn that's going to have plenty of starters down there, and he has another starter in this race, Todd Pletcher. So maybe she'll run, maybe she won't, but she just had things her way on the front end in Gulfstream. I don't think she answered really any questions about 1 mile and an eighth that day and will be a very short price. And the Jumping the Gun, that last race was better than it looks, was slow out of the gate, which is a little bit of a concern, but not as much with an inside draw, but was caught 4 wide early, remained wide much of the way that race, and lost to a pretty good horse. So I like that this one has foundation. I like the pedigree to go long, and maybe it gets a little bit overlooked because coming from out of town.
And with that rail draw, short run into the first turn and a 1 1/8, 9-furlong oval there at Aqueduct. So, look, the wide trip last time for Jumping the Gun might have gotten her when she was second in her stakes race. But when she's able to save a little ground, she's awfully tough. Let's go back and watch her win at Delaware in the Blue Hen, a more ground-saving trip.
And they're homeward bound. Lilies in Paradise desperately holding on to a noselead. Jumping the Gun has all the momentum on the far outside. And closing in is Sassy Fox and Thirst for Hope inside the furlong pole. Jumping the Gun now kicks away in the Blue Hen Stakes. Lilies in Paradise has no more to give. Sassy Fox is trying to claim second, but the Blue Hen Stakes champion is Jumping the Gun to beat out Sassy Fox at 17-1.
Good luck there to Imaginary Stables, Jumping the Gun. Imaginary Stables, John Garderi, New Jerseyan, Floridian, a guy who, big player with us at ExpressBet. Got a chance to meet him at the Preakness a few years back. So a little rooting interest there. Good luck to John and Imaginary Stables with Jumping the Gun, Scott's pick in the Des Moselle Stakes. Let's go to the Elite Power, race number 5 on the card at Aqueduct. The Elite Power Grade 3, 6-furlong sprint, named for the multiple Breeders' Cup Sprint champion. Didn't take long for him to get a stakes race named in his honor. Sometimes it takes 20, 25 years, and it's like a veterans committee looking back at who we're going to name this next stakes for. He barely pulled up in the Breeders' Cup before he got a stakes named after him. Scott, field the 6 in this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, it says just how good he was. I mean, he was good. I remember I tried to beat him in a first level allowance event at Churchill Live when before he was, the Elite Power that we know. He won by about 30. I think I was closing out pick 4s or something with 4 against him. It was over pretty quickly for me. He was a serious horse. I think it replaced the name Run Happy Stakes, which good for Elite Power. I think there's plenty of Run Happy stakes, although Run Happy was one of the most talented racehorses I've seen in some time.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, this could be the Elite Power presented by Run Happy back in the day. I know we're not into the marketing anymore, but Run Happy could have a stakes name without even having the race named after him, the way it was going in the marketing world. Elite Power Stakes does have a field of 6 in here. El Grande O coming off a win for trainer Linda Rice last time out. Full Moon Madness is a horse who's been dabbling in the stakes company. Then you've got some horses rising in class. Subrogate comes off the Dave's Friend Stakes last time out. I thought he would win that race last time at Laurel, so I'm a little disappointed in him. That was a muddy track last time for Subrogate. Hopefully we get a fast track in New York this weekend as expected, but this race looks like one that could be won on the class rise.
Yeah, I'm going to try with number 4, Just Beat the Odds, a son of Munnings, that I don't see a lot of speed in here. And like you said, the horses that have the back class to me, a little bit underwhelming current form. Look a little beatable. And you look at Just Beat the Odds, and at first you might say, well, coming off the layoff, not ideal here in the toughest spot of his career. But, man, this barn fires big recently on 90-plus day layoffs. They've got a 33% win rate over a 48-star recent sample size, and this horse is part of it. He runs well fresh. So I think this horse has proven that he runs well over this oval. He should be forward, if not on the lead, and potentially loose under Manny Franco. So I like number 4, Just Beat the Odds here, like you said, on the class hike and off the layoff.
We'll see if it's the welcome back committee for him in the winner's circle when he returned for 2025. He just named his margin.
Left to go, no excuses, hugs the rail, kicks for home. Just Beat the Odds, tries to sprint away, is just doing that. 24 Mamba continues to pursue this leader. From far out of it, High Oak, reasoned analysis, but Just Beat the Odds has a furlong left to go, and it is long gone. A 16th left, and it's Just Beat the Odds. Front running score, wins this one easily. Just Beat the Odds over 24 Mamba. Reason analysis from far out of it.
Easy win there. We'll see if he can repeat that in the Elite Power Stakes. Races 3 and 5, the Des Moselle and the Elite Power, not in succession, but the final 2 stakes on the NYRA card that we will handicap, races 9 and 10, are in succession. So if you want to pair up a little parlay, daily double action here, the Remsen and Cigar Mile go as races 9 and 10. We'll talk about the Remsen Stakes next up. For me, this is the most interesting race of the weekend because I'm so Kentucky Derby centric. This kind of gets us back on the Kentucky Derby trail. Last week, week. We saw Further Ado win the Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes at Churchill Downs. Maybe not as overwhelming as he was at Keeneland when he won his maiden race by 20 lengths, but Further Ado kind of stamped himself as one of the horses we're going to be talking about going into the spring for the 3-year-old scene. And the same kind of thing happens almost annually in the Remsen Stakes. Some of these horses get overblown and don't quite live up to it. Others in recent years have been pretty decent. Mo Donegal came out of this race, won a Belmont Stakes. Sierra Leone came out of this race and, obviously was a Breeders' Cup Classic winner at 3 and one of the top 3-year-olds a year ago. So it can happen. Dornoch was what, Haskell winner, I believe. Dornoch ended up winning the
Belmont,
right? And the Belmont Stakes. That's right. I forget that he won the Belmont. So, this race has gotten a little more productive in recent years. It kind of was the butt of jokes for a couple decades where the Remsen horses really didn't produce much, but everything that once was popular comes back around again, I suppose. And the Remsen's kind of trending in a good direction.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this year it's it's the mile. The key to the whole thing is it's a mile and an eighth early on in the season.
Yeah,
they don't really have that middle point at Aqueduct. To your point earlier, it's either a mile and an eighth or the 1-turn mile, right? So a lot of the time, trainers do not want to send their top horses a mile and an eighth this early. They want to build up to it, I think, and that's why it's probably taken some back seats. But this field is very interesting. You've got millions and millions of dollars of purchases. You've got a $5 million purchase, a 1.9 and 950K. And it's all horses that, either one of two things, definitely these trainers starting them at a 1-turn mile and forwarding them right away to a 2-turn 9 furlongs tell you maybe not as fast as some of the other ones that are going to be top 30 prospects, but more so horses that have stamina. And so that's what I look at with these horses. Paladin might be the exception. I think if he runs well in here, he's going to be right up there with Further Ado and some others, like you mentioned, at the head of the class. He's getting a lot of buzz. But to me, that's what it looks like. It looks like a quality field of just horses maybe that are, not showing that super speed in the morning. So therefore, they're already at the 9 furlongs.
But again, Chad Brown, trainer of Paladin. Todd Pletcher's got 3 in here. Shug McGay, he's won the race 4 times. He's got day 1 starter in this race. So it is not the B circuit. Balboa, former Bob Baffert trainee, who his connections sent to Maryland, and Brittany Russell now tightens the girth on off a win last time out in the James F. Lewis by daylight. You get a horse like Talkin' for Danny Gargan, another good magic. I mean, Danny Gargan with a good magic in the Remsen. He only won it 2 years in a row, WNL, and then last 2 years ago with Dornoch with Sons of Good Magic. And you look at a horse like that, talking $800,000 purchase, a lot of years, this would be an A horse for the race. And he's the 4th highest purchase price in the race, I think, at $800,000. So really, this is a interesting field and a big field of 12. So from a gambling standpoint, we don't always get that with some of these, late season races. A 12 horse field. You got a lot of the connections. 3 Pletchers in here. How will the public go with those? Pletcher's got 2 of the main favorites in here. He's got Renegade, who against Paladin last time, a race was kind of a little bit of a controversial disqualification. The bumping, brushing right near the wire, but the fact that it was a nose decision, we can kind of argue that race a little bit in there. In fact, let's just talk about it. Renegade and Paladin, when you look at those 2 horses, Scott, a lot of talk, the immediate talk, and it almost always happens. It's like the love of the backup quarterback. The horse who runs second in a tough defeat was always the best horse on Twitter. I mean, everybody talked about how Paladin should have won. Paladin should have won. He was the best horse. He was wide. He was between horses. But I thought Renegade had to wait and then had to show some guts coming between horses and then finished up well. I thought he finished out quite a bit better than Paladin did that day. In fact, the brisk late pace figures were a 104 for Renegade and a 100 for Paladin. That's first and second best in this field by a fair margin, and excellent numbers for 2-year-olds finishing up on the back end of a race, especially one that had a 46 and change opening half mile. So I kind of think Renegade ran the better race of the 2, even though Twitter popular opinion was Paladin. How did you see that race specifically, not necessarily picking between the 2 for today?
I agree. I mean, it was impressive to go a 1-turn mile on debut, which is a combination of talent and stamina, not a distance a lot of horses win at, and be involved early and still kind of have fight in the end like he did. Mm-hmm. But I didn't see the effort that I expected to see because I didn't see it live that day. I expect. I expected Paladin to, significantly have run better. I didn't see it, and as they move forward, I really like the progression of Renegade more. I just he's one of the exceptions. There are exceptions. I said that all these trainers are getting their horses going 9 furlongs early. When they debut him at the 1 turn mile, that's when I make the point. But Todd this horse is bred to go 2 turns and all. But he debuted at 6.5, and he just got caught up in a sprint chasing the fastest race of the year for a 2-year-old, right? So fast that horse is, hasn't recovered still. It's our time. Yeah. And then comes and shows that he can finish, stretching out. And I just think he's going to get better as the distances get longer. So, yeah, of those in this race, particularly the way, if we're looking at it from a futures perspective, Renegade's not getting the same respect. I think he's got more of a chance to be serious personally at the moment.
The one thing I'll say, these horses ran against each other October the 17th. Since then, Paladin has worked 5 times and was back on the workout tab, just like you want to see 14 days after that race. Renegade's got 2 works. That to me says maybe not Saturday, but down the road. It doesn't look to me like they're emptying the till, or it took a little more out of Renegade than it did out of Paladin. There's no work listed since November 14th, which is kind of strange. I don't know if the clockers missed one or what the situation is there, but November 14th is the last work listed for Renegade. We're already to December 6th on Saturday. No work going into this race to go the mile and 1/8. So I kind of give the advantage to Paladin in that head-to-head matchup this time, but I actually thought Renegade ran the better race in their head-to-head, and maybe for next year, Renegade's the one that I want to move forward. It'll be interesting to see what Todd does with Renegade. Obviously, he'll winter in Florida, but Pletcher, no stranger to shipping horses out the fairgrounds to run in races. He's got Ted Naffy. I can't imagine Ted Naffy's going on the road anywhere, that he'll be at Gulfstream and he'll run in the main races at Gulfstream. Of course, he's not going to run in the Fountain of Youth and the Holy Bull, so you could take a horse like Renegade in one, Ted Naffy in the other. Todd's going to have some decisions to make what he wants to do campaign-wise, but Renegade and Paladin, certainly a big discussion point in this race. And Pletcher's got another in here in Courting that I want to talk about. Courting is by Curlin out of Cavorting. That makes him a fool to Clairiere, a multi-million-dollar winning mare. Really, this is a horse who went through the auction ring at Keeneland September back in 2024 and brought $5 million. Not favored in the debut, went 4th behind Igniter, who's back in this race, but bet all the way down to 1-9 last time in that second start. Let's take a look at Courting in that second career effort and see what we think of him in the Remsen.
The top of the stretch, the 1-9 favorite's got a tussle on his hand with a big long shot in Stream It, the gray down the center of the racetrack. Courting has still got more. Grittiness starts to collect some momentum too. Courting is just slowly extending away here from Stream It, who's alone in second. Grittiness is going to try one final time. Courting has a 16th left to go, and Courting will get the victory. Courting will win it. Grittiness second. Stream It, then I'm a Big Bad Wolf. 1 minute 36.03 seconds.
Not a terribly wildly impressive win, but also not one to slough at. Only against 3 rivals. I thought he was ridden out a bit, but I like the gallop out and the energy in there. I got mixed signals on this one, Scott. I'm not quite sure what to do with Courting in here. Johnny V's been a Remsen kingpin over the years. Couple brisk late pace figures of 94 and 94 in both career starts around 1 turn in those 1 turn miles. Those are pretty good numbers for a 2-year-old on the back end of a 1 turn mile. But again, we talked about that Renegade and Paladin race where Renegade got the 104, Paladin got the 100. What do you make of Courting in this spot?
Yeah, he's the one that I'm more against. I think I don't love that he debuted at the 1 turn mile at Aqueduct in late September. Didn't even go off the favor with this pedigree. That just combined there just tells me that he wasn't, he's not that fast. That doesn't mean he can't get good. And especially as the races go longer, a lot of these horses, you want come Derby time weren't that fast. But right now, I want a fast horse in these kinds of races. They generally win, unless the trip is really up against them. And then last time I didn't learn anything. It's a 4-horse field where he walked on the lead at 1 to 5. Grittiness ran second. I mean, his past performances for those following along are 2 above him. He's done very little so far, even though he's bred to be very good as well. So I'm against Courting in here. He's the one, that I would take a swing against, assuming he takes some money, which you would expect him to.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's the one that that I've got my, temporarily I've got concerns about. If I spent $5 million, I'd have more than temporary concerns. But can you imagine watching a horse after you spent $5 million on him? Woo.
Yeah. Just get to the races is the first hurdle, and then you get there, and then turn out you better be pretty good for $5 million. Let's talk two more horses in here. Let's talk Igniter and Talking. We'll start with Igniter. He's fresh. He's been away since September, since breaking the maiden. Aimed at this spot for a while now by trainer Rick Dutrow. Bullet workout on November the 11th. He's been right on cue, like you like to see every 6 days. He's training pretty well in here. You don't see Dutrow with Three Chimneys Farm horses. What do you make of Igniter in here, who in that career day or in that career maiden breaker, second career start in September, did beat Courting in that spot? What do you think about Igniter in here?
Yeah, I mean, he's done very little wrong to me. Running third at Saratoga on debut at a big price was good. I mean, Richard Dutrow Jr. was not winning races at Saratoga much at all this summer. So that was a good effort. Then he comes back, and to the point of Courting, I mean, this horse gets hammered right into Courting, who has the fancy pedigree and sales price, and ran well. You've got the the top side of the pedigree. I guess Volatile, is this the first or second crop, or one of the first couple crops? Sprinter though, as a horse, we'll see how it turns out. But the bottom side is a very strong family. The dam earned over $600,000, and there's some two-turn pedigree there. I don't love Igniter in this spot. I don't necessarily love the outside draw in this. It's not outside, I guess, but he's got plenty of upside still.
He's in the 7 hole. Out in the 11 is Talking, and the draw is kind of the detriment here, right? I mean, this horse with a better draw would certainly be absolutely right in the mix on the win end. We mentioned Danny Gargan winning this race twice with Offspring of Good Magic in the past couple of years, W&L and Dorduck. And, this is a horse who's bred to go long, top and bottom. I think there's some distance on this pedigree. Gargan's run 3 horses in the Remsen. He has those 2 winners. He also has a third place finisher. The barn has 1 win at the meet already, or 3 wins at the meet already, off to a good start. The second place finished in Napoleon Solo when Napoleon Solo ran off and hid in the Champagne Stakes. It may not look bad on paper. I went back and watched, and the number looks good, but he just wasn't doing that much in there. And I thought they were laboring behind Napoleon Solo, but everybody had a reason to in that race. 44 and change, 107 and 4 for 6 furlongs. So this is going to be a much different pace. I mean, he was in the rocket launcher last time, and this is going to be a slow burn, at 1 1/8. So there's no telling how Talking might run over this trip. But the 11 hole, he's probably going to get hung wide no matter what Kendrick Carmouche tries to do, unless he just busts.
He's got to try to bust. That's Kendrick's game. This horse is faster than he looks on paper. Remember, those are 1-turn races, and they were run fast early on. So don't look at kind of the fact that he was off the pace and judge him based on that. The pace, like you said, JP, going to be much different. I think he's got a lot of upside. This is going to be a tough spot, but it very well, because of the post, and that very well may increase his price. So if you like him, you might get a very good price today. And if he's better than these, he could certainly win this race.
As our good friend and harness handicapper with Express Bet and First Bet likes to say in his videos, the post makes the price with the harness horses that get drawn outside. Maybe the post will make the price in there for that runner in the Talking running in the Remsen Stakes. Let's go to the Cigar Mile feature race number 10 on the card Saturday at the Big A. Cigar Mile named, of course, for the great 1995 streaking cigar, won 16 in a row at the highest levels.
That was the original Who Did He Beat horse for me. I remember being at the track. And everybody would, who did he beat? Because he would be like 1 to 9, and he would travel every different track, but he wouldn't, he was too good. Who did he beat?
You can only beat Running Stag so many times, as he gave him a lot of his L's on his resume. But Cigar, absolutely fabulous. 1-turn mile here. The Cigar Mile used to be called the Naira Mile. Field of 7 in this spot. This race does not live up to its historical strength over the years. Downgraded to a grade 2 in recent years. And honestly, this field feels borderline grade 2, maybe to the grade 3 level in here. You do have Crazy Mason, Phileas Fogg, and Bishop's Bay, 3 horses amongst the 7 that certainly fit at the grade 2, grade 3 kind of level, and the race would seem to run through them. Bishop's Bay is one of the more underrated horses when you just look at the running lines, because nobody would look at him and say he's 8-3-0 from 12 career starts, 11 for 12 in the exacta. The only time he ran out was in the Forgo at Saratoga earlier this year. Bishop's Bay just seems to fire all the time, but he's been a grade 3 kind of horse, and when he had that one shot in the Forgo was the one time he ran out of the exacta. Is it about Bishop's Bay in here, whom I think will go favored? Phileas Fogg is the morning line favorite. I think Bishop's Bay will get bet under Pratt in here. You look at the running lines, this horse is just bet and hammered in the tote almost every single start. I expect Bishop's Bay to be the favorite in this particular spot. Do you like him or somebody else?
I never liked Bishop's Bay. I've lost a lot of times trying to beat him, though, admittedly. This is a horse that I just remember being down at Fairgrounds when he debuted, and he was the Derby horse, or him and First Mission were the same crowd. Mm-hmm. They loved those two. They debuted in the same race. He's just been, the way he's been managed is just telling you, they're just, it's tiptoeing around the top competition. Now, this is not the top competition, but I think it's better than what he's faced. I would never back him at the price he's going to be. Can he win? Yes. Will he hit the board? Probably. Phileas Fogg is going to take a lot of money as well. 1 turn mile and blinkers going on. Big questions. Is this just a swing at the end of the year because it's a big race, locally? I don't know why they're in this spot. He might just be better than these horses, but because I'm leery on the 2 favorites, I'm going to roll with our old friend, the Crazy Masonator, because he just comes every time. I don't know if he's going to get the pace to chase. I don't know if the 1 turn mile is where he's best at, but I think he's better than those horses at 1 turn right now, and I'm going to hope that he gets the trip.
When he comes with a big move, Fogg or not. Let's go back to Crazy Mason winning the Carter earlier this year over this racetrack.
For a seam, Crazy Mason's trying to run off from the back in Donegal. Momentum. They reach the top of the stretch. Full Moon Madness is still there. Maximus Meridius is starting to back out of it. Quince Brew is in front. Crazy Mason is unleashing that thunderous rally on the grandstand side. Dilger's in the clear too. It's Quince Brew who's in front. Crazy Mason catching with every stride. Dilger down towards the inside. Here comes Crazy Mason on the grandstand side to Quince Brew. Crazy Mason in time will win the Carter, presented by Naira.
I'll tell you what, Crazy Mason's going to make it exciting, that's for sure. One of the more entertaining horses in the game. Again, he will drop way out of it, make one big run. Those run 6 and 7 furlong sprints. In the 1 turn mile, if the pace isn't quite as fast, maybe he's not as far back. That could be good, that could be bad. We'll have to see how it shakes out with him, but I'm definitely rooting for Crazy Mason in here. And he gets Irad Ortiz Jr. to ride. Of course, Ortiz coming off a big meet at Churchill Downs, where he was the riding champion there during the fall meet, and getting set to head down to Gulfstream here in a few weeks for the championship meet at Gulfstream. So you get Irad Ortiz aboard. He'll just be a passenger the first half mile, and then they're going to get to work on Crazy Mason. All right, let's go to South Florida. We'll beat Irad there. We're going to head there next. We'll go down for the H. Allen Jerkins Stakes, Gulfstream Park's 2-mile feature race here, named for the giant killer Allen Jerkins, the chief, one of the great trainers of all time. 2 miles on the turf here, Scott. In the last couple of years, this race has produced a $9 exacta. It's chalky as it could be, and then a 61-1 winner last year. So anything goes at 2 miles. Which way do you want the dart to fall?
Yeah, to me, these races are tough, but I'll take the form that I've seen recently in these long-term races, combine it with the trainer that I trust most in these races in North America when procuring horses and then getting to go longer distances. I'll take the inside. I'll take number 1 Risk Manager in the Allen Jerkins this year. The second choice. I expect him and Summer Cause, one of those 2 to win it. So I will side with the chalky version of the H. Allen Jerkins down at Hallandale Beach.
Trainer Mike Maker won this race in 2016, 2017, and 2022. We'll go for a 4-bagger with Risk Manager, who was a winner at Kentucky Downs earlier this year.
Bail us out behind these horses and deeper out of deductions past the 8th pole. And it's Gilded Kraken, Risk Manager. Risk Manager putting his lime blinkers to a narrow lead from Gilded Kraken, who's not done with. And then comes Segoy. Narrow lead for Risk Manager, close to the wire. and Risk Manager has won narrowly over Gilded Kraken, who's stuck like...
We will see if he can take that Kentucky Downs form on the road to Gulfstream Park. Risk Manager is a winner over the course at Gulfstream amongst 5 career starts there. Coiled is a horse running at Gulfstream for the first time that I give an upset shot at here, coming off an allowance win last time out at Laurel Park. Coiled, trained by Arnold Delacour, really good stamina trainer on the turf. Look, we look back at the history of this race, the Allen Jerkins. This was my express bet race of the week pick, and I took Coiled in here. 5 of the last 6 winners of this race have come up out of the allowance ranks. This has been a race where not necessarily the class shining over the course of 2 miles, but maybe just some recent form. 9 of the last 11 winners ran at a mile and 1/8 or farther last time. And you go down and you look at these horses, Risk Manager, I know, Don't Splash the Pot, Balloony, Padiddle, Ruddy Buddy, all coming out of like mile and a 16th races. I'll take the horse coming out of the 1.5 miles and Coiled, stepping up off a win. And for a trainer, like you said, a trainer I trust over the distance, you like Mike Maker in this spot, and I can't argue with that at all. Arnold Delacour is a guy in a distance race on the turf that I certainly have fondness for too. So I'm going to take Coiled in here. Scott's got Risk Manager. Maybe we got ourselves a little exacta play in the Allen Jerkins.
Yeah, no, Arnold Delacour and the pedigree definitely there for this one. And Jorge Ruiz, a very capable turf rider. In fact, positive ROI over a recent 400-plus start sample size on the side.
All right, I'll take that. Let's go now to Los Alamitos. It's opening day at Los Al on the West Coast today. Again, don't be mistaken. They run the Los Alamitos quarter horse races at night concurrently with the Los Alamitos Thoroughbred meeting during the day. Los Alamitos Thoroughbred card today, opening day for Friday on the West Coast. Saturday's card will have the first feature of the meet, the Grade 2 Starlet Stakes, $200,000, 1.16 miles race over that paperclip course, extremely long stretch run for these runners, as a lot of times they go from Del Mar with a really short stretch run at Del Mar. I think Del Mar's is something like 880, just under 900 feet. Then you get to this paperclip kind of layout that they have for the thoroughbreds, which is outside of the quarter horse track. And you look at Los Alamitos, and it's a very long run through the lane. So it can kind of be a different game where the Del Mar horses don't necessarily transfer their form to Los Alamitos. If you can find a horse who has experience over the course, it never hurts, but there's really not that to look at in this year's Starlet. So we're going to have to project forward with some of this Del Mar and Santa Anita form, Scott.
Yeah, and I have faith in this gentleman that has whitish hair, right now at this point of his career.
Santa Claus?
He's won a few races over this circuit. He's won a few races in this race, and his name is Robert Baffert, and he has a filly that they spent. This is like the throw-in, the $550K for the Zidane Racing Stables. But she was dominant on debut. She's bred to go long. And most importantly to me at Los Al, she's not drawn down on the inside. That's where you start to run in more to risks. I remember watching there was a race with California Chrome race there against it was a Calbred race, I think. And he was like 1 to a million, and he was so wide. If you just stay wide there, it doesn't matter. And this horse is just going to be able to stay in the clear. I think she's better than these. The other Bafferts, to me, have kind of been a little dubious of her, the way Bob's managed her and the way she's run recently. And consequent, the other Baffert in there, a little bit plotty to me. So I think it's Nima's race to lose, and the tote board will definitely agree.
Let's go back to that debut win for the daughter of Gunrunner. It came at Del Mar on November 23rd, so she's coming back on rather short rest.
2-horse race here. It's Nima and Miss Watermelon, and they'll turn for home together. After a half mile of 45.07, they're into the stretch. It's Nima in front, Miss Watermelon on the outsides, a length and a half behind, and they're 8 lengths clear of the rest. A furlong to run. Nima and Juan Hernandez have the lead. Miss Watermelon trying her best on the outside, but she's second best to Nima. Nima down to the wire in front. Miss Watermelon second, beaten 2 lengths on the wire.
In this case, follow the Juan. Juan Hernandez has ridden all 3 Bob Baffert horses in this race, including most recently Hamika, who he's won 2 stakes with. He jumps off her. Consequent, a Juddmonte first-time starter winner for back in November at Del Mar. He jumps off that one, and he ends up on Nima. Baffert's got 3 of the 6. He's either got 9 wins or he's going for his 9th win in a row, something like that. 9 wins in a row in the Hollywood Starlet, going for 10, or he's going for 9. Whatever the case, Baffert has dominated this race over the years. I think there were 32 nominations for this race when I looked at the nom sheet, and I thought, hey, they're going to get a good field for the Starlet. 6 end up entering, 3 Bafferts. Doug O'Neill sends a pair in here. Peter Miller won. There is just no competition at the highest level for that white-haired guy with the glasses that you were talking about.
Yeah, it's tough to try to beat him, but you found a way to beat him with Intrepido earlier on in the year. So
yeah,
sometimes you got to pick your spots, you know.
Yeah, that was my one. We'll leave it at that. Let's switch up from Los Alamitos, and we're going to go next up to Woodbine, the Valedictory Stakes, Grade 3 company here. I think it's the last graded stakes race on the calendar this year at Woodbine. Saturday's Valedictory Stakes at 1.5 miles on the main track here. So we're going for some stamina on the Tapeta. Field of 9 entered in this one, Mr. Shapiro. Who did you end up with?
Yes, 1.5 miles a day of lots of routes. And I didn't trust the favorites in here enough to back them. So I went with a horse going second off the layup that has had some success over this racetrack, over the synthetic course. And that's number 6, Cool Kiss, who should be a pretty good price here. Martin Drexler, son of Cantharos, has 3 of his 4 wins over this course. Last out in the autumn was drawn wide, and decent comeback race. But the race 2 back at 1 mile and 1/16, albeit, would put him in the mix. And the pedigree certainly there. You wouldn't think of Cantharos as long distance, but I think we're well past that with this one. And I just think he's finishing as well as ever, and hopefully he can continue to do so as he stretches out a little bit.
Yeah, pedigree matters when the past performance lines are skinny. When you've got a horse who's run 24 times, you kind of know who they are at this point, and it's much more appropriate to judge their past performances and what they've done than their pedigree for sure. Son of Cantharos, Cool Kiss, was a winner at 1 mile and 1/16, 2 starts back in the Durham Cup. Scott's hoping for a flashback to that one.
It is Paramount Prince being tested now for the first time really fully by Dresden Rowe, and Dresden Rowe on the outside just in front. They turn together from in third, Cool Kiss right behind them, but Dresden Rowe out in the lead. In second placing is Paramount Prince, and then came Cool Kiss. A real battle, Paramount Prince kicking on. Dresden Rowe, Paramount Prince and Cool Kiss taking aim. Dresden Rowe's got the better of Paramount Prince, but Cool Kiss is running over the top of them. Cool Kiss on the outside, and Cool Kiss has got up to win. Cool Kiss in the Durham Cup.
Little Bill Raftery with the kiss to get you in on that one, hopefully, in the big race at Woodbine this Saturday, the Valedictory. We'll go to Kentucky. We're talking some basketball. You got to get to Kentucky. Let's go to Turfway Park Saturday night, race number 7. It is the Boone County Stakes, 125,000, 1.25 miles. Like, if you're not running 1 mile or 1/8 or farther this weekend, just stay home, apparently. We got a 10-furlong race. Fantastic again, the local stakes winner over the track, Honor Marie, a horse who's an alum of the Derby, the Belmont, the Travers. So there's some familiar names in this particular spot. Scott, which one did you land on in this field of 11 at Turfway?
Yeah, they're all very familiar to this old former Kentucky guy, but no doubt about it. Plenty of early speed, though, for 1.25 miles, assuming they all stay intact. You've got Fantastic again, who I think we're going to take a look at. He loves it over this oval. We're going to take a look back at one of his runs. You got strong quality down on the inside. There's some speed a little bit to the outside, and Prince of Power. I think it's Zerviev who's going to be able to take advantage. This is the son of Oscar Performance that was in the Cherie de Beaubarn for a while. Never really came to full hand for Cherie, but was claimed for 40 by that guy again, Mike Maker. And he stretched out the 2 mile and 3/8 races. Both of them resulted in wins. And we've seen this one prove that he can finish over the oval at Turfway, which is a different surface, of course. So I think he has the ability to get the right trip, get the right distance, and finish over this unique surface. So I'll go with Zerviev, who's 6-1 on the line here in these names. They could run these races, and I could follow them for 100 years, and I'd never remember which one's which. The Boone
County is this one. Fantastic again. Our local stakes winners run great over this track. 5 starts at Turfway, 3 wins, 2/3. The last race was abysmal. Last time stopping on a dime up in the autumn stakes at Woodbine. But back over this track, a flashback is never out of the question at Turfway Park. A horse for course kind of place. And when Fantastic again is good over this track, he's pretty darn good.
as they race around the turn, still chasing Fantastic Again. And Fantastic Again will turn them on down under confident handling in the 33rd edition of the Leonidas. Turning for home, Fantastic Again showing the way. And with a furlong to go, Fantastic Again is on cruise control. The jockey just simply a passenger. 3 lengths for the back to Ironsides and American Speed, but they're inside the final 16th. What a performance here. Fantastic Again was pounds the best. Fantastic Again was never at.
Scott, is there any better feeling than watching your jockey look under his arm? I mean, when you get that kind of win, you know you're in pretty good position.
It's great. The only thing better than the one we saw was when they're bigger than even money, right? But
yeah, sure. At a
you
price,
bet a price and you bet a price and you're kind of not confident. You know there's some formidable opponents. You know you're going to run well, and then all of a sudden you're just like, nobody's making up ground, and I haven't been asked yet. This is the best feeling in the world.
Should be a great weekend of racing from morning through night there at Turfway Park on Saturday. Hope you play it with First Bet and Express Bet. A reminder, we got the 1 million first rewards points hit and split on that late pick 5 on Saturday, or late pick 4, I should say, Saturday at the Big A at Aqueduct. Scott gave you half of the winners in that sequence. He's got Crazy Mason in the Cigar Mile. He's got Renegade in the Remsen. You come up with the other 2, and then you'll hit the pick 4 at Aqueduct and share in those 1 million first rewards points. Also, again, a reminder, 10 times first reward points giveaway with what you play today. 10 times first rewards points earned today at Woodbine, as well as Saturday's card that includes the valedictory stakes on Saturday. So some good promos this weekend. We've got a new one, the Winter Winterland, where you bet 100, you get $10 back on Tuesday and Thursday cards. Select cards coming up between now and Christmas. So be sure to check the promotions page to see which tracks they are coming up next week on Tuesday and Thursday. I'll be back next Tuesday on the It's Official podcast to wrap up the big weekend. Scott and Bailey Armour, of course, have their podcast, Horse Sense, each and every Thursday. You can check that out, posted on YouTube already. And, of course, he'll have that for you next week as well. Scott, have a great weekend, pal.
Yeah, you too. I think we made it pretty clear by how much we talked about the Remsen, what we're most excited for this week, and that's the Road to the Derby continuing on. We'll be continuing to focus on those races a lot, as both of us, definitely would put that first, second, and third in terms of the things we love most when following horse racing in 2025. Yes, I'm willing to speak for you.
Yeah, because a little truth serum here. Going into it, I said this is going to be about a 25-minute record, Scott, because the races aren't the biggest races of the year. We're at 42 minutes because you get me talking Derby, I can't stop. So we talked a lot Remsen time on that. So we are right on time, as we usually hit in the 45-minute mark here on this podcast. And we once again did so this week. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.